Okay, I am Satish. I am the senior assistant here at Providence. I work with Eugene and Richard. They're my same team. And my main role is to automate web services in our REST team here at Providence. And I've learned this tool, WebdriverIO, on my own and did it from scratch, from trying to learn how it works and then implemented it to where it is right now in my team. So before we actually do a deep dive into WebdriverIO, I would like to get a quick raise of hands. How many here know about Selenium? Okay, and something about JavaScript test frameworks. Okay, only like few. Java test frameworks. Okay, how many know about Appium? Okay, many. Oh, looks like a lot of experts here. And then WebdriverIO. Okay, okay, a few of them. Good. And then how about Nightwatch? Okay, good. At least one person I'm seeing everything. He knows everything. Okay, so probably this is pretty easy for me then, because I don't need to go too much in depth. So before we go deep dive, let's look at the landscape, what we're talking about, the types of testing and what category does WebdriverIO fit in. As we all know, we have unit tests where we write and test each and every function and then go nitty-gritty into detail. And then we have integration tests where we test the different components of the application. And then we have functional tests, which test the end-to-end part of it, of the application. So WebdriverIO comes and falls in the category of functional tests. And not only just WebdriverIO, there are also other competitors like Nightwatch, Test Cafe, and Cypress, and all that. But the most common and most famous frameworks out there are Nightwatch and WebdriverIO as far as browser automation is concerned, using Selenium driver. So WebdriverIO and Nightwatch are the custom implementation of W3C WebDriver JSON web protocol. So Google put out the WebdriverIO, and then all these guys come in and then do their own implementations of how they want to take the framework to the next level. And then it's a JavaScript framework. And then I would like to quickly go over the main components of the WebdriverIO here. So it is mainly based off of a test runner file, which is the wdio.conf.js. So this is the main file which actually drives the whole automation process for you. So here, I'll just highlight some of the basic components because there's a lot to cover here, but I just want to highlight some basic components. So once we look at this, once I give some basic details about the WebdriverIO, then I would like to actually go and compare the WebdriverIO with Nightwatch. And then I would like to give some demo using Sauce Labs. So that's what I'm going to do now. So getting into the test runner file, so if you want to run our test locally, or if you don't want, then you don't need to add these parameters. But if you have a Selenium grid, which is set up locally in your company, which is not using Sauce Labs or Browser Stack or any of these options, then you might want to use these options. Then these are the username and key. These are mainly for your either the Selenium grid, or you can use the Sauce Labs credentials there. And specs is what the term they use to identify all the test files. Here you can give a JavaScript file, or if you are really familiar with TypeScript, you can even give TypeScript files, and they even support TypeScript as well. So, and then the next one is max instances here. So yeah, you can even exclude some files, and then the max instances is the number of instances where you want your browsers to launch. For example, if you give Chrome, Firefox, and Safari in your capabilities, and then you say max instances as 1, then for one test, 3 browsers will launch. So you can set that. And then capabilities. Here, this capabilities is slightly different from the desired capabilities that you keep hearing in Appium. This is the W3C specific capabilities. So the naming conventions are slightly different here. So here you can mention it's an array of objects. So you can give different objects in here. One object here, it is Chrome, and then you can add like Firefox in here, and then provide particular options. For example, if you want to disable pop-ups or anything like that, then you can give those options in here. And even you can run headless if you want to be using the headless command. And if you want to pass in any command line arguments, you can do that through this. And then you can turn on what kind of tracing that you want, whether you want detail or debug. And then for logs, you can always capture those. And then they have the bail option, which is that, for example, if some developer checks in a really bad code, then you don't want all your tests to keep running and keep failing, like 100 tests. You don't want that to be failing. So you can set this option to like 5 or something and say, okay, if only 5 tests fail, then I don't want to keep running further. And then there's the base URL here. You mentioned what is the core URL that you want to test. And then you have the wait for timeout. This is the default timeout that you mentioned. For example, if you give the command .wait for exist, and then you don't need to pass in any arguments there, and then this is the timeout that it would take in effect. And you can use Mocha or Mocha and Chai as a combination. That's what I will be showing. And then the spec file retries is in case, for example, if you have a suite of tests, 10 tests, and then you run them, and let's say only 1 or 2 of the tests fail, and then you want only those 2 tests to rerun, then that is when the spec file retries comes in the picture. If you turn it on, and only those 2 runs in the suite will rerun. In the reporters, you have dot, which is the default reporter that is put, and Elude. I'm going to show that shortly. Elude report is pretty innovative from their perspective. And they also have Mocha Awesome and other JUnit. They also support JUnit as well. And then, yeah, so this is the basic structure of the test runner file. And now that I have introduced you to the WDI conf file, so by the way, this is what I have here in-house. And I've already introduced you to the WDI conf.js file. Now there is another important file, which is the file which extends the WDI.conf.js file, which is having 2 capability objects. So for example, here you have the example that I've shown you before is the one which has both Chrome and Firefox. So that is in an array of objects here. So you see this bracket here. So it's in an array. But now you also have another file which has no array. It has 2 objects here. So if you write the file in this format, then these 2 capabilities launch at the same time. For example, you start a test, then these 2 browsers launch at the same time. So, for example, here I can show we have. By the way, our systems are down now, so I'll just show an example, like how this would work. It won't work right now, but just show you for the sake of it how this whole thing would work. Yeah, there you go. As you see 2 browsers launched at the same time. Both are pointing to different URLs. So if you want such scenarios to happen, then that is how that particular capabilities file with 2. So now in this scenario, what we are trying to do is we're going to try to chat between the provider and the patient. So here So these two browsers are talking to each other in this chat application. So that's what I'll be showing you shortly and explaining you. So what I'm trying to verify as part of this test is once you have the information from the other browser showed up here, I'll verify whether this has shown up or not. And then shortly, there will be another. I don't want to go into this demo. I'll show that in the Sauce Labs, but I'll just close this for now. But the idea here, I just want to show is that the chatting, the verification of the chatting between the two can be verified easily using WebdriverIO. And this is the biggest strength of WebdriverIO, where you can have two browsers launch the same test and be able to communicate to each other, which using Nightwatch is a big nightmare, I would say. And yeah, okay, now let's dive into, like, as I've just shown you here, the main two reasons why you want to move towards WebdriverIO than preferring any other JavaScript testing framework is you want to be able to run, if at all your scenarios, for example, in our company, we had the scenario, we had the chatting application, not only just the plain chatting, there are more scenarios which deal with talking between two browsers, and that is the term that term that WebdriverIO calls as multi-remote configuration. So that is when this will be useful. The second one is using the ---- suite command. And for that, so just like I've shown you here, so in the configuration file, you can mention what kind of tests that you want to run. You want to group them as. So for example, here I grouped the bunch of these tests as waiting room chat, a bunch of these tests as virtual visit. So all I can do is, instead of saying here ---- spec will run only one test. But if I just do ---- suite here, and then give the name of that suite, then it will run all those tests for me. So for example, here, this is one particular suite of tests. As you can see here, these two are one combination. Like I've shown you the test before, where you launch one test which will launch two browsers and talk to each other. So these two are one combination. These two are another combination. So each one of them are taking 2 minutes and 42 seconds to run. But if you see, the overall duration of all the 12 tests took 2 minutes and 42 seconds. So this is called parallel test execution, and this is where WebdriverIO is really good at. You can, I mean, with Nightwatch, there is absolutely no way that you can get this done. And then just imagine, like right now, I have around 100 or 150 tests that I'm executing, and all that takes is, like, 35 minutes or something, which is really cool. We can use that whenever a PR is merged, or we can use that like whenever somebody wants a quick sign off or something, they're changing some code. So reducing the time of execution when you are actually executing this is really important. And if you run the same test in Nightwatch, it would just take, like, you add up all these numbers, and then whatever you get is what it is. And in fact, you cannot even prove these in this way. So that is the big plus that you're talking when you're referring to another advantage. And the next set of advantages is that you can choose Mocha or Jasmine or Cucumber in WebdriverIO. And as of V5, right now the version that they have in WebdriverIO is the V5. V5 Cucumber is not yet supported, it's still working on it, but V4 they do support it. So you have 3 kinds of testing frameworks that you can use, but not much on Nightwatch side. And as far as assertion, you can use Chai, but they use their own library. And integrations, this is another core part that you want to use. Why you want to move to WebdriverIO is they have their own services. So they have their own setup and teardown for starting Selenium. So Selenium, if you look here, I have another slide here. So the way actually WebdriverIO works is that it does a lot of REST calls to the Selenium WebDriver, and then that in turn talks to the browser. So in fact, if you remove the Selenium WebDriver part and then just install the Chrome driver or the Safari driver, it will still work. But you just need to manage that, how to start that and stop that on your own. But if you use the Selenium WebDriver and then use it along with WebdriverIO, then everything is taken care of. So Selenium WebDriver will automatically choose what driver to use and when to start and stop on its own. So, for example, here you have they have this services component. So I'm using Selenium standalone and source here. So Selenium standalone will figure out which WebDriver to use, whether Chrome or Firefox, and then source. I give actually, this is the source credentials that I use here, like at the top. I give the source user and key here, and then this is all the source connection options that I have to use because we are trying to open a tunnel instead, because all our tests have to run inside on a private AWS network. So I need to open a tunnel, and for that I need to give the source connect options. So these are the kind of services that we're talking about. And not only just these two, they also have happiest service to talk to mobile devices. They also have WebDriver CSS that also does the visual regression verifications for you. So these kinds of services, where I as a automation developer do not need to worry about how to start or stop these. They're just automatically there for me, built into the framework. So that is another key advantage. Then come to reporting. So reporting, as I mentioned, I'll talk about failure. So this is the failure report that I generate. So there are a lot of failures here. And then if you go to suites, then you can actually filter out whether you want to see only the pass or only if you want to see only the fail, and then you want to click. And then this will actually give you the steps, exactly what steps you have executed. And that is all coming from the code itself. So here, if you look, I've added the LU reporter here as an import. And then all I need to do is just do an add step here. Before every line of execution, all I need to do is just do an add step, which will automatically act like a comment. And then eventually it'll all show up here. So in fact, you don't need to, screenshots of this. Yeah, we can take screenshots as well. Yeah, that feature is also there. I'm not using that right now, but yeah, that's also available. And you can also take screenshots in Source Labs as well. So not just in this. So in addition, you can all do this in Cucumber as well. But I found it very easy to use the add step process in WebdriverIO, because Cucumber is using the Jerkin syntax and it complicates things a lot, and you don't need all the complications, what I feel, and this is much easier to read, because main goal of Cucumber or using this is any non-programmer or project manager or anybody else who doesn't know more about coding, just to look at it and see, hey, yeah, okay, I've done this test covers all these, right? That's more important. And then we have the support channel. Yeah, this is way too cool, man. I think this is number one. I would say, I think every point I take, I feel like, oh man, this is beating the other point. Okay, so now this is the GitHub channel, and I cannot stop praising, because I have learned so much from this channel, and all the experts of WebdriverIO are just here, right here. Even if you post a question today, tomorrow, even the founder, Christian, even he can come in and answer the question for you. So there's so many experts just waiting for you to post a question. It's just your fault not to post a question. Otherwise, like, I've learned so much from this framework. And then you cannot find this kind of channel in Nightwatch or any other framework. At least I've not seen such a channel. And then, well, I think, yeah, this is another great point. I would love to use WebdriverIO. And more often, like, you have so much developer community using WebdriverIO, so it constantly keeps improving feature over feature, and then it keeps getting better and better, right? So I've said a lot of things. Just to summarize, why do you want to use WebdriverIO? It can do everything out there which any other JavaScript framework can do, but plus more. And then you can do multi-remote scenarios like I've shown you. You can do some chatting and stuff, and then you can run tests in parallel, and then the good community and all the integrations right out there, right? Okay, I've explained the slide, a demo, like, yeah. So you can not only just run for the two browsers, but you can also run for a single browser as well. So this is Sauce Labs. So everyone familiar with Sauce Labs? Can I get raise of hands who knows Sauce Labs? Oh, very few. Okay. So this is a cloud. Okay, this is instead of having your own machines in your company, hiring a bunch of machines and running all the tests there. So you can run it in the cloud using Sauce Labs. There's also a competitor called Browser Stack. So you can pick and choose your machines. For example, if you want to run on Windows 10, you can run it on Google Chrome, or you want to run it on Mac, whatever you want to do, you can do. Okay, let me just, the same chatting application that I've shown you, I'll just quickly show you here. So now just imagine that I've run the command, and now there are two browsers which open, and then one browser is chatting with the other. So here, okay, now you see the hello from web patient, and then I stop here, then I go to the other one. You see the hello from web patient here as well. There you go. Then eventually it'll come with hello from handle provider, and then you go to the other browser. And you see the hello from handle provider. So eventually my test, what would it do is, obviously it'll do a bunch of verifications to get to here. And then on top of it, I also verify the chatting application which has happened on both the sides. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And I have a bunch of references. Yeah, and I would love to, so there are a couple of, if anybody is interested to learn WebdriverIO, then they can always go onto YouTube and then look for the name Will Brock. He has a very good tutorials on WebdriverIO. And then Kevin Lamping, he has something called as Learn WebdriverIO. Even though there are two editions, one is a starter and a professional edition. But for Will Brock, you can actually get it online on YouTube. Yeah, so that's all I have. And any questions you guys have? Yeah.
You can run tests simultaneously. Can you run tests simultaneously in different browsers simultaneously?
Yes, you can. Yeah.
No,
actually, no. You can do that. Even I have different configurations here. Actually, so for example, here I have Chrome and then Firefox. You can do all of that. It's not just same browser. Anyone else? Is it the end of the day already? Oh yeah, okay. So the question, sorry, I couldn't repeat your question. So the question, if I'm understanding correctly, is which language can you use in WebdriverIO? So it's a JavaScript framework. You can use JavaScript or TypeScript. Even TypeScript, for TypeScript, you can actually, yeah. So there is a setup that you need to do, that they mentioned to do. And then if you do that, then even you can mention the .ts files. Somewhere they'll mention that. Yeah, I forgot. So somewhere they'll mention the .ts files also in the. Yeah, but anyway, you can use TypeScript as well. Yeah.
What is the complexity converting from the
So if I'm answering your question, you already have a JavaScript framework, a testing framework that you. I think it all depends on if, for example, here I'm using Mocha and Shy. Okay, for example, I'll show you one test. So no, it uses yeah, the drivers are all taken care by, as I mentioned, they're all taken care by the Selenium service for me. So whichever, yeah. Yeah, he is already using the JavaScript framework. Yeah, so if I'm answering a question, so you already have Selenium stuff written on JavaScript somewhere, and you want to port that to WebdriverIO. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to explain is that if you already use the Mocha and Chai, so you'll also use some other verifications, right? For example, how do you verify some elements and stuff? So if you're already using Mocha and Chai similar kind of framework, pretty straightforward. Like you can bring the code and then you can for find elements you need to there will be an equivalent find element thing, and then here it's dollar. You just have to find the equivalents. So if you are finding you want to find all elements, then here it is dollar. So for everything that you're trying to do, you just need to map what is in that older framework and what is in the newer framework. And then if it is Mocha, and then pretty easy. If it is, you don't need to change for Mocha and Chai at all. So all you need to just look for is the exact syntax. That's it. And then this also supports, just to answer your question more in depth, this also supports Babel integration. So you can, I've also integrated Babel, right? So with this, it can transpile into a lower JavaScript framework. So if your code is, let's say, in ES6, sorry, not ES6, ES3 or ES4, whatever, ECMAScript, right? Then if you use the Babel preset, then it will, you can bring the same code in here and it will transpile for you. So that feature is also there. Yeah. 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 So the question is that, is anyone? Can you hear me? I think we lost mic. Okay, so I'll repeat the question. So the question is, what is the flakiness of the test for the chat scenario, right? So to me, it was 100%. It was never a case where it was never a case where the test failed because of the flakiness of the automation. It was always I always found product issues. At least WebdriverIO, I never saw flakiness. I totally understand what you're saying because I worked with Appium and Java in the past. And sometimes there was some flakiness, like, for example, most of the times I get it in the wait for elements, like, it'll wait, but sometimes it may find, may not find, and all those kinds of automation related failures, at least I've not seen here. It is pretty robust framework. Yeah, and also there is no lag. I don't know about the lags between the messages being received and stuff, but here also you can wait for exist, like a lot of things that you can do if you want to hack and then still get it working. Like it can always be done depending on this. But at least for our case, we don't need. There was no need to hack, and then I could get it done all the time. So all the tests, like really all the developers also appreciate it, and the good part is that the developer team is also familiar with JavaScript, and the model that we are going is like everybody, the developer team and the test team understand the same language, so they're also familiar with what we are writing, and then that is where the contribution from the entire team comes into the picture. So if something goes wrong, and yeah, at least to answer your question, I've not seen any fitness.